Welcome to SwarmCast, the marketing hive for pest control pros from coast to coast. If you're tired of your competition bugging you and want to grow your business like a well-built colony, you're in the right place. Each episode, we'll break down the latest marketing trends, expert insights, and proven strategies to help you exterminate the competition and keep your phones buzzing. So strap in, pest bosses. It's time to swarm the market and take your business to the next level. This is SwarmCast.
Here we are today on the SwarmCast. We're welcoming Raymond Kidwell, Director of Business Development of Voice for Pests, a seasoned leader with decades of experience in a lot of different industries, especially in the pest control industry. So happy to have you join us today.
Well, it's great to be here, and I really appreciate you having me on. I have a lot of gray hair for all the years I've been in the industry. But no, it's great to be here. I'm excited. We've had a couple conversations. What you guys are doing is really powerful. So thanks for having me on.
We're going to talk about all things voice, and not like that's carried on a lot of importance in a business, but it's kind of the underlying thing for businesses and pest control owners. If you don't have your answering dialed in with all these different pieces, you're going to be left behind, right? I mean, what happens when you miss a phone call in pest control? What's been your experience, Raymond?
Well, a lot of companies miss a lot of phone calls, and some of the challenges are they just don't. It's hard to staff up and have a lot of people always available. So people go into hold, they go into queues. A lot of opportunities are missed because of people using voicemail, answering services. Because you never know if somebody's going to leave a voicemail. If you figure if it's a customer and you can't get to them, they're going to be unhappy. And if it's a lead and you can't get to it, you're not going to sell it. And I would say probably the average pest control service is about $300-400 a year. Termites more, all the other things. So we know from our AI X-ray analysis that about 30, believe it or not, 30 to 40% of my phone's ringing. Sorry, 30 to 40% of leads aren't even getting put into the customer CRM. So the people are calling them, the employees are talking to them, and then they never put it in there to follow up and sell. So a missed phone call is basically you're just giving money away. That's the bottom line. You're just losing money every time you miss a phone call. You're either going to lose, you might lose a customer, you're going to lose a lead. So it's a very expensive thing to happen to miss phone calls.
Yeah, a lot of business owners, they're spending money on marketing, they're spending money on their brand. Phone call finally comes in, they miss the phone call. And I know the statistics for not only missing that call or it going to voicemail are very high for them never coming back ever again.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. That's 100% true.
So it's kind of an important big thing. Now, a lot of folks think, oh, I got this all dialed in, right? I got this all dialed in. Not the case. Not the case. And, a big chunk of the pest control industry are people that are just kind of starting, right? Or they're sub-$1 million players. Only a small percentage will get past that $1 million marker. And This is one of those things that if this is not dialed in, you will not get there. Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah. So I like to talk about the expertise in the pest control industry. I've come from telecom and pest control. I think I told you at Pest World that we just sold our pest control company last year, and we had to have this dialed in day one. And we were using tools before I knew about you guys, like Podium, right? We had Podium on our website, and it was great. Somebody goes to their website, they're filling out the information, you get a call back like that, or you end up going into a chat scenario. I mean, that's great if they're on their website. But a lot of times what happens is people are looking for an emergency service, right? Termites, bed bugs, cockroaches. They want an answer now.
Absolutely.
They want an answer now. So why do you feel like pest control owners underestimate telecommunications to begin with?
Well, that's a great question. 80%, even now with everything we have, texting and websites and everything else, about 80% of all pest control communications still occur over the phone. You either have your office people are talking to your customers, your technicians are talking to customers. So it's a very big part of the business. But honestly, I think to answer your question directly is they're so focused on the production side of the business. They're focused on getting work done. They're focused on getting all their revenue completed. They're focused on getting, making sales and growing the business, and which is a great thing. But like you said, a lot of pest control owners, lawn care owners, they undervalue the importance of what the phone system and communication can do for you. Because you see a lot of companies spend a lot of money on training their technicians. They spend a lot of money on marketing and everything else. Then they hire people in the office and they don't really too much time training them. They don't manage them. They don't check and see how they're performing. It's just the person in the office answering the phone. And they are the most important part of your business, really, if you think about it, because they're the ones your new customers talk to first. Right? They're the first person your customers are going to be exposed to. And they're the ones your existing customers talk to the most, right? So if you don't have really good people on the phone and you don't have really good tools and ways to analyze their phone behavior and how they're handling the calls, then you're really leaving half of the business undervalued, underutilized, undertrained. And that's what we see a lot. We see a lot of pests, and they're great people. They're good business people. They focus on that dollar side, get everything done and get it in without really figuring out that the main, food source for their business is coming through the phone for the most part.
Yeah, and you're I would say newbie to pest control. I was looking over your profile and said that, hey, with Orkin, you spent what, almost seven years as a branch manager there.
Yeah.
And what happens when you have that one piece not locked down?
Well, I mean, it was a long time ago. And I worked at three different organizations. But basically, it depends. Like you said, a lot of companies are smaller. They're just starting out. They might have one person on the phone. A lot of companies start with the owner, right? And the owner goes out and starts doing the work, and he's selling, she's selling, and they're the ones taking the phone calls. They're the ones doing the work and everything else. And so then they finally get big enough to hire somebody. And then that person, like I said, they're still in the business. The owner's still out there working and doing stuff. They might have a technician. So they're not really focused on the person in the office. And then you end up, if you don't have a good person answering the phone or people answering the phone, and you don't have a good mechanism to track their activity and make sure that they're taking the calls they're supposed to take, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose business. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose customers. And that's not being negative. It's just a fact. So if you're basically not really paying attention to the communication side of the business, not just phone, because there is texting and everything else, you're really hurting yourself.
Absolutely. And we know that day one, we call them stage one businesses. What would you suggest for somebody that's under 5 trucks? What should they have? What would you start them off with?
Well, they could use us, of course, Voice for Pest, or Voice for Turf. We have 3 different brands. We're the same company: Voice for Pest, Voice for Turf, Voice for Pros. But no, in all sincerity, what they should be doing is they should hire and train the person that's taking the phone calls as diligently and focus and manage them as diligently as they do any other employee, right? People manage text, they track their revenue. You need to do the same thing for your CSRs, the people taking phone calls. They should have goals. You should have meetings with them. You should manage them. So get a phone system. If it's not us, it should be. But get a phone system that you can track. Manage. When I say track, I mean manage the activity. See how many calls you're getting. How many calls are getting answered in a reasonable amount of time. How many calls never get answered, right? A lot of calls don't get answered. And so you need to have ways to handle that. Like we have an automatic text back where somebody calls you and if you answer it, sends them a text, says, hey, we'd love to keep talking to you. We have AI applications that can take overflow calls. So those are the kind of things you need to be doing. And even to me, it's more important for that stage one, because like I said a minute ago, the owners are out there in the business working and busy and doing this. Once you get a little bit bigger, usually the owner or the manager can kind of sit back a little bit and be more of a manager, view the business and think about the business, work on the business, not in the business, right? So when you're working in the business, you got to make sure that you're paying attention to all of it. So that would be my thing. It's really important to have a good phone system that gives you the tools. And even if you only have 1 or 2 people, you still want a system that you can like I said, track those KPIs. How many calls are coming in? How long are they on the phone? Are they doing a good thing? The other thing I always recommend, and I know it's tough in a smaller business, is if you can get somebody whose job is to answer the phone and not other things. Because what happens is, especially in smaller business, the office person does the payables. They do inventory. And they're taking the phone. So you think about it. My job is I'm the office person, and I'm over here doing the purchasing, whatever, for the manager, and a phone call comes in. I'm in the middle of something, right? So that phone call is now an interruption to what I'm doing, right? It's not the focus of what I'm doing. So I want to get off the phone really quickly because I got to get this thing done, or my boss is going to get mad at me. So that happens a lot. The other thing, which is very weird, may sound weird, use a headset. Not a hand. You can use your desk phone, but you don't want your employees to have one hand. They only have one hand to work with, right? So they're on the phone. It's uncomfortable. They get tired of holding that phone. Sometimes put it on their neck, like those old phones with the big thing on your neck, and you're trying to do something. They're in the computer, trying to put information. It's terrible. Get a headset. That's going to help you a lot. That's going to make your employees happier. It's also going to make them much more productive. A tangent there, but I feel very strongly about that. And because I've been there. I went from, like you said, a very small office, one or two people. And my last pest control job, we had 15, 16 people in our contact center. And it just makes a huge difference. So if you can get your employees to where their main job or their overall job is just to answer the phone, then you get somebody that's going to be professional, can focus on it, and they don't look at that phone call as an interruption to what they're trying to get done, which happens quite often in a smaller company.
Awesome. Now, a lot of business owners are, they got these, right? They got
Yeah.
their
Oh,
cell
yeah.
phones. And even if they have a team with these, what's nice about IP phones, soft phones, is you can extend right to these. But you mentioned a feature which I really love. If somebody's in the field, they're working, they got this thing turned on silent. Let's just say they can't afford a back office person. You can still do that text notify. Hey, I'll get right back with you. Right? Powerful, powerful. Where just small things like that can mean such a big, what I would say, a customer experience, right? What is the customer experience? And especially if
Absolutely.
you get, even if you're running a small company with a couple of techs where you don't even have necessarily a back office person, just that could be huge. Now, back in the day, we used to sell a phone system. It had to go on your wall.
Yeah. Yep.
We don't need that. We don't need that
Nope.
anymore. Now,
Nope.
there's a time and function where you get big enough to where you have a call center,
Right.
or there's VAs now. You can light up a VA in a foreign country, or you can
Yeah.
have AI, like the AI assist, which you guys are all about that too. So talk about the
Right.
AI piece. Let's just say I
Sure.
want to light up an AI agent just to schedule service.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. I'd love to talk about that. And I will, but real quick, you mentioned the cell phones, right? So we actually have a solution that connects the cell phone to the phone system, right? Because
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
using, let's say you do have a phone solution in the office, right? People call your main number, they're doing this, you're doing that. But then everybody, like you said, everybody's working on cell phones. They're disconnected. So you, as the owner, manager, whatever, you have no visibility to what's going on those phone calls. We have a solution that ties the cell phone directly to the phone system. Every single call can be recorded. We use and I'll talk about our AI because what we do, some of the things we do with our AI is we analyze every single call. We have a product called X-Ray. X-Ray Labs is our partner, and they're fantastic. They were in the industry many years before AI broke. So all they do is pest control and lawn care. They're processing over 1 million calls a month, processed over like 12, 13 million calls. So our AI really knows what people are saying and the words people use when they call to buy and cancel and sell and whatever pest control. So the AI, we also have AI agents. The challenge with AI agents or AI applications is right now about 75% of them are failing. And what happens is the company says, oh, I want to try it. So they take this AI agent. Problem is it's on an island. It's not part of their system. They don't really have any visibility to it. They have a portal they can log into, but they really don't know what's going on during the phone calls. And so what happens is customers call up, and most of the people that use the AI agent don't. I don't know if they were trying to be sneaky, but they don't make it very obvious, and they don't make it very easy for people to get away from it, which is really important. So people call in, they get stuck on this AI agent. It can't transfer calls. They can't get away from it. They get really frustrated. They call and complain the office, and then the owner says, "Oh, let's get rid of that AI agent." So 75% of them don't work. So what we're doing is a little bit different. It's not actually quite a bit different. is we actually make the AI agents, or we call them AI applications, part of the phone system. They're actually users in the phone system. You can listen to their calls. You can run reports. Our AI X-ray platform analyzes your AI agent calls just like it does humans. It scores them. It tells you if AI did this right, did that right, because AI is not perfect. So you end up with human employees and AI employees, right? And you can manage them, and they're all part of your organization. Whereas almost all the other AI applications agents are separate. So it's kind of like, would you hire a CSR with no experience? You didn't train them, and you put them in a room and lock the door, and you have no idea what they're doing all day long. Nobody would do that. But that's what's happening with AI agents. So ours is quite a bit different. We have one that can be a receptionist, but it can take calls, it can transfer calls. We've actually to the point where we can, with an AI answers a call to a human, the human gets a little summary pop up and says, "Hey, this is what's going on." So the person doesn't have to repeat themselves. We have one that can actually take calls and schedule services, reschedule services. Right now we have FieldRoutes, we have PestPac, we're working on Real Green, and we're going to keep adding CRMs. We have one that can take payments, process payments. We have one that can sell over a voice agent that can sell over the phone. And then we have one that's an SMS AI application that's basically campaign based. So, you have 1,000 leads from last year you never sold. We load those up, and it goes over this 4 to 6 month texting campaign, and it follows up. And what's really interesting is what we're seeing is it'll text not annoyingly consistent, but consistently left. And what we're finding out is it takes 3 or 4 text messages for somebody to start responding. And human beings usually give up. They'll call, they'll send an email, they'll send a text message, they give up. AI never gives up. It never sleeps. You don't have to put it on vacation. You don't have to worry about its birthday. You try to remember its birthday. It keeps working. And so what we're finding out is it's really a powerful sales tool because it never gives up. And it takes, I think there's an old something out there, like it takes seven times to get, for somebody to learn something or get somebody's attention. But we're seeing it's taking at least 3 or 4 texts for somebody to engage. And then when it engages, then you're going to sell them. Most of the time, if they respond, you're going to end up selling them or whatever you're trying to do. Save them if it's a cancel campaign, or maybe you're trying to upgrade them or sell mosquito service or something. But you're going to get a positive outcome if they respond.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, we've dealt and talked with different players and different pieces that you've just mentioned, but powerful outbound SMS doesn't forget, picks up on the conversation.
Right.
But you've mentioned some features that I have not heard of before. Like I'm really quite interested in is when it does a handoff, there's a summary. That's beautiful. So somebody's like, okay, the handoff just happened, and okay, here's what they talked about. That's great. And then somebody come up to speed pretty quick. How long has that been out for?
Well, that feature is brand new. I mean, our AI agent applications we rolled out, we brought out in Pest World. Now, here's what happened when AI broke. There's these AI companies that started working in other industries, right? The big industries. And so then they say, wait a minute, there's pest control over there. So they take this AI application that was developed for cars or paint or hot air balloons or something, and they say, oh, we're going to have it do pest control, right? And they're not necessarily bad products, but they just don't understand the industry. We do. What we actually do as well is when we set somebody up, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks for us to spin up an agent AI application, whereas a lot of them is like, oh, 2-3 days, you're in. It takes that long because we actually scrape the website. We run calls through it. So our AI application understands and learns how you talk to your customers, right? Because people in Rhode Island talk to their customers a lot different than people in Southern California, right? And our home office is New Jersey. People in New Jersey talk a whole lot different than people in Florida where I live, right? So if you get this AI voice that sounds like it doesn't really belong in the community that you're in, people notice that, right? So our AI they will adopt the way you talk, and if you got a lot of Southern accents, you might get a Southern accent, right? But it just helps. It helps a better experience, and because a lot of people hate AI on the phone because they can't get away from it. Ours can transfer. It can transfer to humans. It can transfer to other AI applications. Most of the other ones out there, they can't transfer. Right. So somebody says, I want to talk to a human. I want to talk to a human. You're screaming, you're banging on the phone. Right. And they just like, I talked to somebody who told me they were on one and it finally just basically said, I can't help you, and hung up on them. right? And that's what people get frustrated about. So yeah, we can do that. We can transfer it. We can pop that little summary up. That's a brand new development. But that's the other thing about us. The reason we didn't roll stuff out to Pest World is we spent a lot of time, our partner, X-Ray Lab, spent a lot of time developing the AI from the ground. So they started this thing called tool calls. So a tool call is how the AI application communicates with, let's say, PestPac or FieldRoutes or RioStack, any other CM. It does tool calls. So we started with the tool calls first. We started building in the interaction between the CRM and the phone system and the AI first before we got to the voice part. The voice part's easy. 2 years ago, I went to this big conference. It was a high-level call center conference. It was giant. One of the speakers was Delta. They have 35,000 customer service representatives. It's huge, huge phone systems, right? Yeah, huge phone systems. Well, AI had just broken out, and we talked to one AI provider. It was $100,000 if you wanted to develop an AI agent. Now there's so many applications you can do it for like nothing, like almost free, $50. It's easy to have AI now. The challenge is having really good AI, and that's the difference between our AI and others. Is ours is very good. It knows the industry and it can interact with the CRMs like humans do. So we also know that 60 to 70% of all pest control lawn care calls, we know this because we've been analyzing them, through AI for 2 years, are scheduling and billing. So if you can get AI to help you with even half of that, right? You're taking 30% of your calls off the load of your human employees, and then they can focus on those really valuable things. I mean, scheduling, it's important, but it doesn't take, it's not critical. It's not vital, right? It's a rather mundane thing to just schedule. It's a mundane thing to take a payment. You want your humans doing those things that really matter, saving customers, selling customers, doing those kind of things. So let the AI do what your humans are doing that's mundane and you don't really need a lot of talent for, right? And maximize the talent of your human employees so they can really drive your business forward. The challenge is you got to have the right AI. And there's other good AI products. I'm not slamming them. I'm just saying ours is better. It's just better for a lot of different reasons. And we're really excited about it. And I think that, people want it. I got a number of people can call and talk to one of our AI agents. We have videos that show actually scheduling in a CRM. So it's pretty exciting. And we have no contract. We do have a contract, but it's month to month. So you could try it for a month and cancel, right? A lot of these other providers are making people sign contracts for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Our contract is our AI performance. Our AI will keep you as a customer because it's that good. Sorry, shameless plug.
No,
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I think that you said a couple of things. There are a lot of good AI voice solutions out there, outbound SMS solutions. If you go back through the last 30 episodes or 31 episodes we've got different players that have done really well for the industry. But when I did write the book last year on AI and pest control, there was a study done that collaborates what you were saying. A lot of these projects fail. And I'll give you a personal experience. Wasn't in pest control. It was at the dealership. I went to the dealership website. I started chatting with AI on the website. All I wanted to schedule was a service appointment. Couldn't do it. It says, you need to call this number. I call the number. Guess who answers? AI answers. I can immediately tell. Well, I want to schedule an appointment. Guess what happens? Can't do that. You need to call this number. So I've been directed twice.
It couldn't transfer either, right? It
couldn't transfer.
Right.
Couldn't transfer. Right. This was a Cadillac dealership.
Yeah.
Fail. And I was like, look, guys, I went to the guy that ran the thing. I'm like, this is a fail. And I just laid it out for them. And this is the kind of AI that will lose customers or frustrate them. I think when I was talking to one of the players in the field last year, I was like, look, I would rather schedule with AI than deal with somebody that takes them a while to fiddle around and find the calendar that knows the scheduling. So when there's hooks in, companies like PestPac, FieldRoutes, that's a majority of your players out there. And I'm not saying your guys are probably working on relationships with some of the other players, no doubt. That is the value when we're not having to duct tape this stuff.
Yeah, no, we have integrations with almost every CRM field management software that's out there. I mean, and we've just added 2 or 3 more. Now, when I say integrations, we have integrations that aren't specifically AI. We can do screen pops when somebody calls in, their account pops up. We can do click to call. They can just click the phone number in their CRM and make the call. We can do a note. One of the big things we do is we can analyze every call with AI, create a 2-sentence summary of that call, and push it right into that customer's account in the CRM. We can also tell in that customer's account what was the sentiment? Were they happy? Were they unhappy? Our AI can actually predict. We call it I can't think what we're calling it now, but unhappy customers that are you're probably going to lose, and tell you that and say, hey, this customer, even though they didn't cancel, you might want to take a look. You might want to give them a hug. You might want to call them back or something, whatever. So we have integrations with a lot of them. But you're absolutely right. And the other thing that we do that's different than a lot is we're upfront. We tell the caller, our AI, tells the caller, I'm an AI assistant or virtual, whatever the terminology. And anytime you'd like to speak to somebody, just say representative or press 1 or whatever. Because you're right. I love AI, right? When it works. People, and I think there's a big, a concern out there that, everybody's, they're scared of AI. It's going to replace everybody's jobs and everything else. AI is great when it's utilized properly. But to your point, you gave the exact example. Now I'll give you a win example. I called my credit union. I did a stupid thing. I transferred money to the wrong account that I didn't have access to anymore. Fortunately, it was my daughter. But I was freaking out. So I call and I get, hi, I'm Dolly, your virtual assistant. How can I help you? I said, I need to talk to a human representative. Hold on 1 minute, and boom, went right over. And everything was fine. Now, if I'd gotten with that, I was pretty panicky. It was a fair amount of money. And I was like, if I'd gotten stuck with that AI, I'd been really unhappy. So that was a win because even though AI didn't help me, it got me through with no problem. I didn't get frustrated, get angry. So your example is a perfect example of why 75% of the time these bots are failing.
Absolutely. And I think for listeners on this podcast, it's like, hey, if it's not seamless, like what we're talking about, hey, there's an option. I like the fact that you said, hey, you guys are month to month, and I think when a business owner goes through the pain of doing an integration with FieldRoutes or PestPac, and I'm not saying it's painful because I don't know, I haven't been through one with you, but usually
it can be painful. Not our integration. I thought you meant like starting new with the PestPac or Field. That can be a challenge, but no, it's pretty simple. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if you make it seamless for your customer, hey, it's going to be that stickiness, and they're going to want to stick with you forever. They're not going to want to go back through that process over and over again.
Correct.
But it is a game changer. It really is. I'm going to skip over to another subject that really, is of prime importance to us marketing guys, especially our marketing side of the business, is attribution. And all that means is, and I got in a conversation with the founder there about, hey, we want to be able to do even heavier attribution when somebody calls in. I don't want to go back and have to listen to 50 calls at the end of the month or a couple hundred calls. How many of these turned into business? And from what source? Did that come from Google? Did that come from Microsoft? Did that come from wherever? Right? They're paying money for advertising and they want to do the attribution. Talk to me a little bit about what we have over there.
Yeah. So our XRAI is our AI platform. And because it understands conversation so well, all of its analysis is based on what's actually said during the call. Has nothing to do with tracking numbers, everything else. So we can tell the customer exactly not only how many calls they got, which is what that's been the holy grail for years, right? Oh, I got 1,000 calls to my tracking number. I got 1,000 leads. No, you didn't. You got 1,000 calls, right? Because if I call a tracking number to sign up with your company, I'm going to save that number in my phone, and that's the number I'm going to call every time. So what we can tell you is how many phone calls you're getting per number, per campaign, per Google ad, whatever you want it to be. We can track that. But then how many of those phone calls actually turned into opportunities that you could sell? And we can even customize it. Like if a company only sells, they don't schedule appointments, or if they sell over the phone, schedule appointments, all that stuff. Then we can even break it down further and tell you how many of those they sold, what did they sell? Was it recurring? Was it one time? And we can give you everything. Like you said, our X-ray platform has these accountability hubs, has tracking hubs, and you can see all of that. So it's funny, when we first started doing demos with X-ray, we would meet with these pest control owners and managers and stuff, and we'd show them these results, and they'd be like, wait a minute. My marketing guy's been telling me I'm getting 1,000 leads a month, right? And I'm only getting 250. And that's the case. And their mind is blown. So now, to your point, we can tell you exactly what happens on every single call, marketing call. We can tell you exactly what your results are, your responses are, and based on the channel and everything else. So the only thing we're not able to tell you yet, which we're working on, is you know the value of the sale. Now, if they say the price, it's going to be in there. You're going to know it. But we're getting there with our integration with the CRMs. We're going to be able to combine that and say, oh, it was not only did you sell 350 recurring services, you sold 250 platinum plus or whatever, bronze or whatever. So we're getting there. But now we can absolutely give you attribution, everything that happened on the phone call, and even better, we have these hubs where AI takes this call and it puts the calls that you need to work on in a hub. So we have one for sales, one for cancels, one for customer calls. So the management people in the company, they don't. If you think about, let's say I call a company and I'm unhappy, right? How many times does that ever go beyond the person I talk to, right? If it's a good company, it does, but not all the time. Then that person has to send an email, create a ticket, do something, and then somebody else has to get it, and all that takes time and effort. And your employees are spending a lot of time just communicating that information to somebody so they can have an impact on it. Well, our X-ray AI does that for you. So you just go into the hub, and there's all the lead calls you had that weren't sold. And you can see a 2-sentence summary. You click a button, you can see the whole transcript. You can listen to the call. You can see how your employees scored on the call. Everything you need to know. And even better, it has call history. So if I assign a call to you, I say, hey, we got this customer called in yesterday. They're unhappy. I want you to call them back. You call that customer's same phone number back. You're going to see it. So I'm going to know you followed up. I don't have to go back to you and say, hey, did you talk to that customer? I'm going to see the call. I can see the transcript. I can listen to it. So just save so much more time. And your management people can actually spend their time in these hubs doing impactful things, saving customers, selling customers, and everything else, instead of trying to find the information, right? Trying to gather what they need. And then they don't have to, if they want to call somebody, they already know the conversation. Because one thing people don't like, and we all don't like it, is you have to tell your story 3 times, right? I call and I tell somebody, oh, okay, hold on, I'm going to get a manager to call you back. Manager calls back. Oh, you got to tell the story again. And if you're unhappy and you start telling that story again, you're going to get unhappy again. You're going to get riled up again. So all of that information is right there. So that person who's handling that situation just calls them back and knows everything about the call. And to bring up the phone solution again, the mobile phone, we can do all of that for field calls as well. So we can analyze your technician calls and we can put them in these hubs and everything about the technician conversation, because we've all been there. You mentioned you had a pest control company. We've all gotten those calls and said, well, Billy told me he was going to come out at 2:00. He never showed up. You go, there's no ticket. What do you mean, Billy? Well, I called him and he told me that, or he called me and I asked him if he come back tomorrow and he said, yes. There's nothing in the system, right? Because Billy's just off on his own. Well, now with our AI, you can make sure that Billy's not doing that. Pretty good.
Yeah, that tech is great. We call it siloed communications, right? We don't want
There
any
you go.
silos,
Absolutely.
We need God's eye view on the data, the phone calls, and then also it gives us control of our training and what behavior we need to influence, right, and impact. Well, this is all really great information. I think that for ones that have been in the business for a while that have systems in place, they're hearing what's being said here. Like these are big problems that happen.
They are.
And it sounds like these fixes or workarounds are pretty cool. You don't need hardware in a facility.
No.
Sounds like this is all virtual switch based cloud.
Yep.
And then other than probably getting APIs to like PestPac or to FieldRoutes to interact on that level, I can't wait to see where you guys take it with the attribution from a standpoint of, okay, here's the user journey. It sounds like we have user journey right now.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
data's floating, but it's not necessarily, okay, we can get CAC data for the accountant, right? What's the cost
Right.
per acquisition? You're
Right.
not there yet. And I don't, those are kind of hard to track sometimes, especially if you don't have that two-way communication with the accounting side, right? Because is FieldRoutes accounting software? Not really.
No.
It handles some pieces of it, but I think that that's going to be part of the breakthrough in the future with some of this technology when we're unifying the messaging, voice, SMS, and now we're syncing that up with what kind of call was it? What did it produce? And how much did we spend to produce that? And those help make better decisions on marketing or outbound marketing initiatives. Because that is hard to track, and I've been in marketing for longer than I have in pest control. And you always seem to have that conversation. Well, let's listen to this call. Well, now I can show you what the sentiment is already. I can see that a majority of your calls, the sentiment's not good.
Right.
You
Oh, yeah,
probably need to,
exactly. Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
times I'm sitting with a business owner going, hey, this person that's answering your phone, they're terrible. They're
Yeah.
terrible. You
The
might,
thing is,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but monitoring calls is a really painful, tedious thing to do. So guess what?
Yeah.
It doesn't get done very often, right? You have to listen to the call. I mean, if you're sitting there just listening to the call, oh wait, you stop it, rewind it. I got to listen. You got to write, or you're typing up a stuff. And so most of the time, it doesn't really happen. Sorry to interrupt you, but I wanted to make that point. Call monitoring is a great concept, but in my experience in the industry for many years, and in this industry for many years, it just doesn't get done. And they're not bad employees. It's just a hard, difficult thing to do. And there's always something else that needs to get done that's not quite as hard or difficult.
Well, I think that there's a certain size of business that starts seeing the value of doing that, and they put in
Yeah.
processes and procedures. But I almost call them like, how many dead bodies or dead customers did you lose on that
Right.
journey, right? And I think that again, part of embracing something as simple as having better technology on your voice, and now SMS. A lot of people don't want to talk; they just want to SMS. If you don't have a quality platform that's able to push that information into the CRM and provide, I would capability like scheduling an appointment, then you're behind the times, right?
Well,
You're behind the
absolutely.
times. Mhm.
And our integrate, you mentioned, we have all the APIs set up. Our customers don't have to do anything. Some CRM cards are the customer for API access. We don't, but it's all set up. But we also, to your point there about text and everything else, we have a multi-channel contact center solution, right? And the funny thing is everybody thinks, oh, I'm too small for that. No, you're not, because you can get voice calls, text messages, emails, web chats, all in the same screen. You can process them, you can track them, you can have calls routed. People can route phone calls, right? Well, with our integration, we can tell if it's a customer calling you or a non-customer, and we can send those calls wherever they want. We can do the same thing with email based on keywords or words in the body of the email. We can do the same thing with text. We can route. So we have a solution that does all that in one place. And then when you bring in the AI part of it that we've already talked about, you really have your entire soul of your business is just nailed down. Because as you started off by saying, it's all about the communication with the customer. Most of it's still phone calls, right? But we are seeing more, trends of texting and everything else. But it's all right there. Everything is in one place. Your managers can see it. It's all right there. It makes a huge difference. But you're absolutely right. Everything you said is spot on.
Well, this is great. I mean, I think that, we'll make sure that all your information is on this video. Certainly I'll be talking more with what other solutions are coming out. I'm excited to see what's rolling out in
Yeah.
2026. Can you give us a heads up on some of those features you see coming to
Well,
fruition?
one. But by the way, thank you for letting me just shamefully plugging my. I love it. That's my favorite
Yeah.
thing to do, as you can tell. But one of the things that's really exciting is we mentioned that SMS outbound sales AI application. Well, one thing that's coming is we're going to be able to tie it into the CRM. So if you get a canceled customer, you cancel them in the CRM, we'll automatically send it right over to the SMS agent, and it can start working on trying to save it. Or if you want to have you want to contact 1,000 people, 1,000 customers to upsell them on something. We can just push it right from the CRM right into the AI application, right? So we're eliminating steps. We're eliminating time. We're allowing human employees to do things that are more valuable, more impactful than doing all this admin type stuff. So I'm really excited about that one. Our X-ray, our partners X-ray labs, they don't tell me everything, which is probably a good idea. But I did hear that one, so I'm excited. But the biggest thing that's coming is continuing to develop that integration between the CRMs that pest control and lawn care companies use. Our AI is going to be able to do more and more. Like I said, we can schedule, we can pay bills. We're going to have a sales agent that's being worked on now that can actually take a phone call, sell it, go into the CRM, fill out the contract, send out whatever the proposal, whatever they got to do. That's all going to be integrated in. That's coming next. So we've got some big things coming down the road, and it's just going to get bigger and better. And again, I always want to go back to this when we're talking about AI. We're not replacing human beings, right? What we're doing is we're allowing human beings to do bigger and better things. Right? Let AI do the stuff that humans don't need to do, so they can do the things that really, really matter, which is contacting your customers, saving customers, selling business, those kind of things. And so I think we're going to see, and I've said this before, we're going to see most companies are going to end up with AI employees and human employees. And the benefit of using our system and our AI is they're all together, and you can manage them all the same. I can get mad at my AI because it didn't handle a call very well, even though it usually does, just like I can a human, right? So it's pretty powerful.
Yeah, this is good. I can't wait to see how all this kind of works out. I see this rolling out in the service industry. I shared my car experience, which that didn't help, and a lot of these failures. In the industry, some people get afraid of progression because of the
Yeah.
horror stories that they hear. But what I'm hearing is a lot of, I would say innovative things in 2026. And when you reduce the risk by not, hey, you got to sign a multi-year contract or you got to do this or that, that reduces that risk. I think you're going to have a lot more players coming on board. What size are you looking at if somebody's saying, hey, I've been thinking about using voice for pest, what typical size of client where it starts making sense to pull you guys in?
Well, we have many customers with one user, right? A lot of our customers have less than 5 people on the system. So my answer to that is the day you open your business, we could be the system people are calling, right? And I've mentioned this before. There was a consultant in the industry, Lloyd Smigel. He passed away a few years ago. Great guy. And his doctrine was, the day you start your company, you need to run it like a company. You need to have a policy manual, a procedures manual. You need to act like you have 100 employees when you only have one, right? So if you really want to maximize and grow your business, doesn't it make sense to start off on day one, phone call one, with a system that can do all the things we've talked about, right? And the benefit is when you are starting new, like you said, phase one, you don't have the time to do a lot of the stuff that you need to do, and we can do it for them. We could literally have a pest control company run with our system and our AI application, not have any humans, right? But that's not the best use of the system or the people. But so the answer is day one. We have a lot of one extensions, and a lot of people, like I mentioned, that contact center. A lot of people, we're too small. We don't have enough people. No, if you're getting text right now and you're getting phone calls right now and you have a website, you need to be able to manage all of those communication trails in one place. So I always say, as soon as you're ready to go, there's nobody too small or nobody too big for us. And the other thing to remember too about us, again, another shameful plug, is we're in this industry, right? And so there's a lot of phone systems out there like RingCentral. They're great phone systems. Dialpad, they're fantastic. If you have a pest control company with 7 people on the phone system, you are a minuscule little ant to these giant billion-dollar world global companies, right? A lot of times you don't even get a phone number to call for support. You have to email. You call us, we answer live. We answer the phone live, 8 to 5, Monday, Eastern, actually 8 to 8, because we cover the West Coast. So there's a big difference in our support. We know the industry, we know the people. Most of our customers know Marilyn. She's the one that answers the phone a lot of times. They know her by heart. I knew Marilyn when I was a customer of this company for many years, and she knew me, right? So it makes a big difference. So my answer is, as soon as you can, come on over. We'd love to have you, and we'd love to help you grow your business and keep your customers.
Well, that's great to know that you guys are really a forerunner in that market in pest control, and that even the guy that just decides to take the leap of faith and go into business, that they set that up. And a lot of times, the guy that just gets started, they should be thinking about who's the next person I'm going to hire.
Absolutely.
Right.
You're absolutely right.
And like you're saying, if they don't have systems in place, and that's that hero's journey, is to make sure you create a system so it's you can add more players as you grow. This is going to be a big one, is making sure that you have unified messaging. And I will say, from experience, when we started our pest control company 5 years ago, we put in that tool set called Podium, and
Yeah.
it gave us the siloed communications through SMS back then. That was very crucial. I can speak from growing that thing from when we had an exit in 2025. And, Podium grew to be a massive, I mean, it's a massive entity now.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but that was just, one piece of it. So this sounds like you're doing a lot of other pieces. The integration with the CRM is so big right now. And for a lot of different reasons, especially on marketing. By the time you get screen pops and now you have speed to take care of your client, that becomes such a big thing. Love everything that you got going on here. And I'm so happy that you reached out to Swarm, and to have you on the SwarmCast today was a pleasure. So thank you for coming. I think that we're going to be talking more with Voice for Pest in 2026. And as these
That sounds
things
good.
and as these features come out, can't wait to hear about them, and so that we can talk about that again on any of our outlets. It was great.
Can I make one more little shameful plug, really small one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Podium's really good, right? But it's also really expensive. There's a company called Applause. They're a partner. We're integrated with them. I'm not even plugging us. I'm plugging our partner, Applause. We're integrated with them. They do a fantastic job. They do a lot of what Podium does. They do a lot of great things. Their original concept is you can reward your employees, you can tip employees and everything else. But they've expanded it now where for office people and everything else. So if you're using Podium or thinking about using Podium, take a look at Applause. They do a great job, and they'll save you a lot of money because Podium is good, but it's also pretty pricey. So that's it. No more shameful plugs. I'm done. Thank you for having me, though. I want to make sure I that was really been a great visit.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll just say this: is Applause is one of our sponsors, and we are
There you go.
huge advocates of Applause. And I think for two reasons. One, they change behavior, especially in review generation or the behaviors that you want to reward, and their technology. And I would say that was, if somebody just did one upgrade of their technology this year and you have multiple players that you need to get your review counts up, that would be my first recommendation. In fact, I've made that recommendation on many times. We use Podium. I used Podium as a way back in the time machine 5 years ago.
Yeah.
There wasn't an Applause then that I knew about.
Exactly.
So technology just keeps marching forward.
Yep.
And here we're talking about, some really cool developments. And, you've mentioned some heavy things that I can't wait to see how they play out in 2026. I'll see you at Pest World, I'm sure, this year.
Yep.
And I'll probably see you at, are you coming to AZPPO this year as well? I'm not sure.
I don't know yet. I'm traveling a lot, and we have a lot of different shows. I'll have to check, but we're out there. We go to a lot of different events, and that's the other thing. Like Applause, we support the industry. We're at all these trade shows. We invest in the industry. Like a lot of our other, we actually have a group we call the Vendor Collective Group. It's about six powerful companies that are really dedicated to the industry, and we offer cross discounts and stuff like that. So I hope to see you. I'm sure I'll see you at Pest World. I hope to see you before that. And it's been such a great time on the podcast. I really appreciate you letting me come on and just talk my head off. Appreciate
it. Thanks, Raymond.
That's a wrap on this episode of SwarmCast. Thanks for tuning in and arming yourself with the marketing firepower to keep your pest control business thriving. Before you scurry off, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. It helps us spread like a well-placed bait station. Got a topic you want us to tackle? Drop us a line and let's keep the conversation buzzing. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strategic, and keep swarming the market.